Good morning, and welcome to the Church of the River here in beautiful downtown Memphis, Tennessee. My name is Sam Teitel, and I have the joy of serving this congregation as minister. Right now, however, I am away. If you are seeing this video, it means that I am away on parental leave because my wife, Sandra, and I have had our first child. The worship service this morning will be led by a guest, by a friend who is going to be leading us in a wonderful service this morning. I am so excited to get to see you all again in person and to get to introduce you all to the newest member of my family just as soon as it is safe to do so. And Sandra and I are so grateful for all of the love and support that this community has shown to us and to our new baby. If you would like to learn more about the Church of the River and about what is going on in the life of this congregation, stick around after the video service today, and you will see information on your screen about how you can learn more and how you can get more involved. And if you would like to stay as up to date as possible on what is going on in the life of our community, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our worship service will now begin. And now we will hear a very special testimony from a member of our congregation who is working with MICA, the Memphis Interfaith Coalition for Action and Hope.
Good morning. I'm Jim Lanier, and today is the day. I want to take a few minutes to remind you that today is the day that MICA needs your support. Over 3 years ago, the Church of the River was one of the founding partners of MICA, the Memphis Interfaith Coalition for Action and Hope. Beginning with only about 50 partners, we have grown to be 70 partners. We are run by a very talented board of 15 people who have selected a great administrator, Ayanna Watkins, to carry out all the work of this organization. Once a year, we try to assemble important political leaders in the community and appeal to them to support our efforts on the three major issues that we defined: education, improving education, dealing with issues of racism, and particularly addressing the concerns of Black Lives Matter, and also issues related to poverty, with specific attention to housing and to public transportation. This is the day when we have this virtual meeting to remind the political world that we are large in numbers, that our 70 organizations might represent as many as 30,000 people. And we like to bring several thousand people together to attend this annual meeting. Thanks to the pandemic, it's easy this year to attend. You can do it from the privacy of your own home. It's 4 o'clock this afternoon. To attend and participate, you need to go online to micamemphis.org and register for the meeting. The meeting begins at 4. We hope to see you there, and afterwards we hope to have an opportunity for the members of our congregation to chat briefly and talk about our reactions to the meeting. Thanks for doing this. We need your help. 4 o'clock this afternoon. Bye.
In this quiet hour, may our spirits be renewed. In this gathering of friends, may we be ready to extend ourselves to those in need and with trust to receive the hand that is offered. In this community of ideals, may we remember the principles that guide us and reflect upon those things that give meaning to our lives, renewing our dedication to serve the highest that we know. In this time of worship, may our minds be open to new truth and our hearts be receptive to love. As we give thanks for this life we are blessed to share. For the gift of this day, and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in the communion of heart and soul.
Down at the river there are weeping and a wailing. Weeping and a wailing. Weeping and a wailing. Down at the river there are weeping and a wailing. Saying, Lordy, won't you come and wash my sins away? I say, down at the river there are kneeling and a praying. Kneeling and a praying. And you hear me saying that down at the river there are kneeling and a praying. Saying, Lordy, will you find me for the judgment day? Won't you save me from the fury and fire? Can you hear me? Come and spare me. Just take me in your arms, O Lord, and lift me higher. Down at the river there are singing hallelujah. Singing hallelujah. Singing hallelujah. Down at the river there are singing hallelujah. As they kneel and pray, wait for the judgment day, you can hear them saying, hallelujah. The river singing hallelujah.
Today I have a story to share with you called School is Different This Year, and That's Okay. And we all know church is different this year, and that's okay too. School is different this year, and that's okay. Written by Susan Lanier and Julie Bayer. Illustrations by Claudio Icuzza. It's been a nice long summer. The animals are starting to think about going back to school. School looks a little different this year. The students at Westbrook Elementary have a few options. They can go to school in person, online, or a little of both. All options are okay. Families make different decisions and need to do what is best for their families. Last spring, everyone had to do remote learning because of a bad virus called COVID-19 or coronavirus. This virus can make people very sick. Staying at home helped to keep everyone safe. The coronavirus is a sickness that spread across the world. We all stayed home. Unless it was essential, we did not go to work or to school. We couldn't go out to eat, play baseball, or dance in ballet recitals. We even stopped visiting our grandparents. Boxes started to show up at our door. We started to wash everything and even wear masks. Wearing a mask, washing your hands, and giving people space, or social distancing, can help slow the spread of germs. Lorenzo and Gracie will do remote learning this fall. Lorenzo is excited. He thought it was a lot of fun. He got to see his friends on the computer, eat snacks all day, sleep in, discover new ways to learn, and spend more time with his family. Gracie didn't like remote learning. She missed her friends and her teacher a lot. School at home was boring without fun chairs, recess, art. There was a lot of time on the computer doing videos, and this was hard for Gracie. She wanted to go back to school. She just wanted her mom to be her mom and not her teacher too. The Goat family is going to school in person. This is okay too. Johnny doesn't really care which option, but he does want to play baseball again. Paisley is worried. She's heard a lot of grown-ups talking about it. She's not so sure about wearing a mask and not picking her seat at lunch. The classrooms look different, too. Everything is so far apart. Even though things have changed, our love for you will never change. If you're at home, in school, or somewhere in between, we are all in this together. School is different this year, and that's okay.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
When you come to me, come not with the expectation to have some passive clergy person coddle you into complacency. No. Come to me as your PST, your personal spiritual trainer. I'm serious. I want to see you move. I want to see you root yourself in a community built on moral complexity and to hold one another to the ethic of intellectual honesty. I want to see you move beyond the religious hang-ups of your broken past and use your regenerative spirit to seize the day. I want to see you flex your moral muscles. I want to see you exercise spiritual practices to the point of training your mind and body and spirit to collaborate as a single, integrated, and dynamic entity. I want to hear you articulate your beliefs. I want to hear you articulate your faith to the point of having some moral relevance. I want to know that you are engaged in the moral issues of our time. I want to know what makes you afraid. I want to know if you are cultivating your doubts and your questions so that when you do take a stand, we can all trust your authenticity. I want to know the intricacies of how you are treating other people. Have you learned new ways to better your relationships? If so, share them. I want to know if you have learned to like yourself. Have you learned to love yourself? I want to know if you feel alive. I want to know if you feel like you belong, like you feel like you matter. Because to me, you do. You do, because you are my personal spiritual trainers. O God of life, help us make this church a refuge from the world, a place where the rules are different. May this be a place, for example, where no experience is necessary, where people are encouraged to risk new things, where a university administrator can try her hand at plumbing, if she wants, or a plumber can help manage the finances, or a banker can teach 5-year-olds. May this be a place where people always feel that their efforts have been worthwhile and their energy well spent. And may this be a place where, as in a children's baseball league, everyone gets to play. O God, help us make this church a refuge from the world, a place where the rules are different. May no one feel invisible here or feel worried about what others may be thinking of them. May no one be bored here. If a person isn't interested in what the minister is talking about today, may he or she be excited by the music or by a conversation at coffee hour. May this be a place where people are touched. If not by something said, then perhaps by something sung, or by the light coming through the windows, or by the sense that the people who come here support one another. May this be a place where everyone feels safe. Safe to follow their thoughts wherever they lead, safe to believe whatever they must, and safe to share whatever is on their minds and whatever is in their hearts. Oh God, help us make this church a refuge from the world, a place where the rules are different, a place where our wills can fill up again, where we can be refreshed and renewed, so that when we return to the world with our batteries recharged, we can help transform the world into a place where the rules are different. May it be so. Amen. Spirit of life, who draws us together in a web of holy relationships, make your presence known with us and in us and among us. Remind us that we are not alone in history. Ignite us with the courage of the living tradition. Remind us that we are not alone in entering the future. Anchor us with patience and perseverance. Remind us that we are not alone in our times of grief and pain. Comfort us with your Spirit, manifest in human hands and voices. Remind us that we are not alone in joy and wonder. Inspire us to honor and extend the beauty we find in this world. Divine music of the universe, let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythms, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. May we move with the rhythms of peace. May we move with the rhythms of compassion. May we move with the rhythms of justice. Source of stars and planets and water and land, open our hearts to all of our neighbors. Open our souls to a renewal of faith. Open our hands to join together in the work ahead. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
The good man's born.
minister tell me once that generosity is like a muscle. Every so often, it needs to be exercised. We are grateful for all of the contributions that we bring to our UU congregations, especially those of time and talent. If, however, you would like to contribute financially to our offering this morning, now is your opportunity to do so. The offering is for the care and sustenance of this congregation, and its work will now be graciously given and received. According to a report from Research and Markets magazine, in 2016, Americans spent $9.9 billion toward the U.S. self-help industry. By 2022, Americans are projected to have increased that number to $13 billion. What this self-help industry has supplied them with in return have been books, productivity apps, podcasts, workshops, seminars, and retreats led by self-help gurus, all with the goal of imparting some sort of profound wisdom that will serve as an inspiration to consumers of various ways in which they can change their lives for the better. The impetus for the self-help movement comes from the Industrial Revolution and British author Samuel Smiles' 1859 book, Self-Help, which provided the namesake for the genre. Inspired by the spirit of change that the Industrial Revolution had brought about in Europe, Smiles' famous quote from the book was, "Heaven helps those who help themselves." The idea was that once the individual became aware of their own freedom and autonomy, they were able to tap into their own potential, and the possibilities were endless. This undoubtedly had an influence on 1920s French thinker Émile Coué, who wrote the loftily titled book Self-Mastery Through Conscious Autosuggestion. The central tenet of Coué's hypothesis was the idea that positive or negative thoughts bring about positive or negative experiences, the so-called law of attraction, that has become the buzzword for so many self-help books and authors. The popularity of self-help materials through the 20th century has always been as a direct response to some other widespread societal fear or concern. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People and Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich were a response to the poverty brought on by the Great Depression and the need and desire for economic success. The newfound interest in religion and spirituality in the 1950s brought forth such books as Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking and Charlie Shedd's disturbingly titled Pray Your Weight Away. Yes, that is the actual title, and it is still for sale on Amazon. Cold War concerns over nuclear proliferation and nuclear destruction, the rise of youth unemployment, and a lack of faith in conventional social structures all became things that the self-help movement used to manufacture materials to people in a vain attempt to try and help them help themselves. The self-help industry has even embraced its antithesis, anti-self-help. These include authors like Oliver Burkeman and Mark Manson, the latter who is quoted as saying, "The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience, and paradoxically, the acceptance of one's experience is itself a positive experience." The problem with the majority of self-help materials is that they are a constant attempt to change the conversation without addressing the actual underlying problem. Thinking positive thoughts and thinking that one's life can change for the better is easy if you're privileged enough to be someone who has heard throughout their lives that they are a beautiful and worthwhile individual for whom great things are possible. If you are a person who is considered to be part of one or more marginalized identities, being a person of color, being a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, having a disability, or being on the neurodivergent spectrum, among others, it is likely that you have heard and spent a good part of your life, if not the majority of it, hearing from other people that you are not good enough, that you will not amount to anything worthwhile, that you do not have the same opportunities as others to make something of yourself, that your mere existence is a burden to others. Those negative words have become mantras of themselves that have reinforced these ideas into the minds of people and manifested themselves as shame, anxiety, depression, and inadequacy. All of these feelings develop into trauma. And trauma is something that no amount of positive thinking from any self-help book can easily overcome. It is oftentimes so deep-seated in the minds of people that any invitation to positivity will get shot down with responses along the lines of, "Yeah, right. That doesn't apply to me." If we are truly interested in doing the work of helping people help themselves and find a sense of inner peace, the only way that we are going to do this and to help people achieve this is empowering them to confront the feelings of shame and worthlessness that they have been forced to be subjected to. This is by no means easy work. It means delving into dark emotions with which we ourselves do not want to confront or consider. It means facing unfortunate realities and unfortunate stories that are so very different from our own. It is not work for the faint of heart. But it is work that we, as UUs, much as we may not like to admit it, are called to do. Our first and third principles of Unitarian Universalism speak to the inherent worth and dignity of every person and acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth within our congregations. What this means is that the first step in overcoming shame is accepting and truly valuing the individual for who and what they are. Our first principle is an invitation to radical hospitality. It means not placing unwritten or unspoken stipulations on the stranger that they are not fully and completely part of the congregation until they have done a certain thing or have displayed a certain attitude. The text of the first principle is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Period. Full stop. We do not and cannot attach our own provisions, such as the inherent worth and dignity of every person provided that, or except for. The first principle is also not a simple suggestion. It is the bedrock of all that we hold sacred as UUs. To declare that we recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person is a direct correlation to the Christian idea of imago Dei, the image of God that is present within everyone. For those of us from marginalized communities, we have been told throughout our lives, especially in and by communities of faith, that our very existence goes against everything that makes up who God supposedly is. This is where feelings of shame begin to develop. We are given the unrealistic, insurmountable reality that we must change everything about ourselves in order to not be estranged from God. It is in these moments that we begin to question whether we will ever be worthy, or if it is even worth the emotional work at all. To say that we have inherent worth and dignity is to say that we have always had those aspects of the divine within us, in spite of the fact that the rest of the world wants to tell us how unworthy we are. As UUs, we are declaring to the rest of the world that we are a sanctuary, a place that is set apart, as churches have historically been regarded, where we recognize the divine in every person. And not only the divine within ourselves, but the invitation and the opportunity to draw closer to a divine that is even bigger than our human selves. But seeing the divine in every person is one thing. While it is a start in the work of beginning to deconstruct shame, there is more that needs to be done. This is where our third principle comes in: acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth within our congregations. It is one thing to notice and recognize a person as having inherent worth and dignity, but we are invited in the third principle to go deeper and accept people for who and what they are. This is often a challenge, because it forces us to confront people who think, act, talk, and behave differently than what we are used to. It is more than simply welcoming a variety of different cultures and beliefs, as UUs often advertise and on which we pride ourselves. It is engaging with them and creating an intentional community. While this is what we aspire to do as UUs, the reality is that we do not always want to be embracing of what we are unfamiliar with and with what we do not know. Human beings in general are not fans of dealing with the unknown. Yet the beauty in the intentional community that we create as UUs is that it invites all participants into an exploration of that which we hold as sacred. We get to learn from others as they articulate in their own most personal and intimate ways how they connect to something that is beyond themselves and beyond the whole world. It is in the sharing of spiritual practices and learning from each other that we find more connections to each other than we find that we have differences. Creating a sense of connection is one of the ways that we overcome shame. Shame exists as feeling like one is or has done something to alienate themselves from others. By fostering that sense of interconnectedness, we're able to bridge those divisions that are created by feelings of shame. But yet it goes even deeper than that. Intentional community not only takes our uniqueness and diversity with regard to spiritual practices and makes it beautiful, it takes the darkest of emotions and the most painful of experiences that one has gone through, and it turns them into an asset. Although the struggles that we have gone through are often a source that feeds into our shame, our journeys, however painful they may have been, have also provided us with a source of perspective for how we view the world. With all those unique perspectives comes a unique voice and a unique orientation to the world that informs how we come to understand the things that are bigger than ourselves. It is through the dialogical nature of the intentional community that we form as UUs that we create a platform for those voices to be heard and those perspectives to be seen by others, many of whom, by virtue of unintentional or unwanted privilege, have not been able to see the other side of the coin. It is the inspiration that I draw from Nathan C. Walker's words in the reading for today. Each person that walks into a UU church, each person that takes the wild and crazy leap into the unknown and decides to join our intentional communities serve as personal spiritual trainers for each one of us. And we get the opportunity to do the same for them. Just like Walker implores in the reading, I know that when I step through the door of any of our sacred spaces, I am coming hungry to hear you articulate your beliefs, articulate your faith to the point of having some moral relevance, to know that you are engaged in the moral issues of our time. I'm even hungry to hear what makes you afraid. It may cause me to discover that you and I fear similar things, even though I may be too ashamed to admit it. Most importantly, in Walker's words, I want to know if you feel like you belong and that you feel like you matter. Because you do. All of the self-help books that have been created in the past 300 years cannot make up for the value of human connection and human validation. The work of letting go of shame and finding inner peace is not one that can be done in a vacuum. It is achieved by diving into and embracing wholeheartedly the joy that is this intentional community that we create as Unitarian Universalists. So, today, I am calling for us to begin planning the funeral for shame. I recently came across a meme on Facebook, like the late millennial that I am, that had the following quote by Christian author Anne Voskamp. Shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. Let me repeat that. Shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. The sacred spaces of our UU worship spaces are safe places that we have created for exactly that purpose, sharing our stories, articulating our perspectives, and allowing for each of our voices to be heard and celebrated. When we step into those spaces, we are entering into environments where shame cannot survive. We allow it to die a slow and natural death, and no longer have the power over our lives that it once did. Once shame dies, we are given the chance to be reintroduced to ourselves, the beautiful, vivid, complex creatures that we are and that we always have been. It is once that relationship is formed that we open the door and make room to allow inner peace to come in, and we find the chance to be whole. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much. we leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Our service is ended. Your service has just begun. Go in peace, go in joy, go in love. Blessed be.
Talk with